speak after Councillor McMullen and then Councillor Lodeman. Councillor McMullen, please.
Thank you. I'm actually acting as ward member on this, Madam Chairman, because the two real ward members, shall I say, are felt that they had too much of a relationship, if you like, with the applicant, and so they thought it was incorrect for them to deal with this, so they asked me to do it on their behalf. Madam Chairman, can I just say that it's always very unfortunate when neighbourhood relations break down, and as I know that they have here, it is always very unfortunate. It is sometimes the worst side of planning, I think. Can I first start about the 9 drawings that have been stated that have been done? The reason that there were 9 drawings done is because the applicant has actually tried his very hardest. Were you sitting down, Councillor Blackie? The applicant has tried his very hardest to accommodate all the concerns of the objectors, which is why there are 9 drawings being produced. I thought it was 7, but apparently it's 9. The barn, perhaps Mr. Featherstone, would you go back to the picture of the existing barn, if you don't mind? Yeah. To me, that is deteriorating, and I don't think for a minute that it will harm the conservation area after it is rebuilt with the new buildings on. I think it will actually enhance it. I do understand that, you know, things like to be preserved, but there is only so much you can do with that without seeing it actually just deteriorating and just ending up derelict. So I think that it will enhance it. I agree it's tight. I'm happy with Mr. Featherstone's recommendation, and I'm more than happy to propose it.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. I'm happy to second that, the updated recommendations. I think you're quite right in the comments that you've made about that existing structure there. I don't think it adds anything to a conservation area to see a building, particularly with that type of roof, in such a well-known aspect and view of Richmond. I don't think it does anything for the town or anything for the character of the conservation area. I believe if that is improved significantly, and I believe this application will improve the aspect, then I think it's something to be welcomed. Yes, it's a small site. Yes, the proposals are modest. But if you look around the centre of Richmond, there are very many small sites with very modest dwellings on them. So that in itself isn't out of character. I have to say I'd be slightly more worried if we had a small site with something rather more grandiose and overbearing, because then I actually think that neighbours would have a very genuine reason to complain and have concerns. If you look at other properties in the area, then you will see plastic windows, plastic doors, roof lights, and they're adjacent to this particular application site. So I have to say I do take issue with people casting aspersions and comments about this sort of application when their own properties themselves do not seem to be in keeping with the conservation area. So that's, I think, what you call a sticky wicket. I do not feel, overall, it would actually harm the conservation area. If anything, I think it would probably make it a lot better, and particularly dealing with that building itself. Neighbourhood amenity. I don't think it's helpful to neighbourhood amenity to have to look at that, actually, at this moment in time. And if that's improved, then I would think neighbourhood amenity would also be improved. Overdevelopment, I think I've covered that. No, I don't think it's an overdevelopment. I think it's in keeping with a small site, and you can't do much more on that site. So yes, I'm very happy to second the proposal that you've made, Councillor McMullen, and I would hope that other members would as well. But we have Councillor Lodeman next. So we'll see what Councillor Lodeman wants to say.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I went to the site visit last Thursday, and I agree with what our chairman's just said, actually, that that building is in desperate need of attention. I'm surprised that any of the neighbours haven't brought up the aspect of the roof, which is asbestos. We all know what asbestos is, and if you look at the right-hand side there, it's broken. The asbestos it's all right when it's not broken. It doesn't, and there's no spores come off it. But once it's cracked, and that is cracked, probably a good hailstone would bring it in. I don't know. But I do know that that building desperately needs something happening to it. And the size of it means that it isn't really convertible into a house. It does need extra space. And even with the extension, it's still only 2 bedrooms. So it's not anything palatial. And I do agree. I think this is going to enhance the conservation area. I didn't actually go up the steps to the castle on the day, but the day after I was in Richmond, and I did look in from the top end. And to me, that building is an eyesore. It really is. It really wants to. And I was thought of knocking it down, but you can't. So it is a complete eyesore, and it does need something to it. And it does being mentioned about the roofscape. I think the roofs that they've designed for this new property, I think they're perfect. It matches a lot of other Richmondshire where there's different roofs, different shapes, different sizes, going in different directions. And there's no windows towards Earl's Court, which is a good thing. If there is anything that I would disagree with, is the fact that it is going to be short of windows. There's no windows to the south, and there's none to the east, and you've got a building to the west, and so the windows are going to be on the north side, and I don't know how much light's going to go in there. No doubt the architect will sort that one out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rodman. I've got Councillor Threlfall next, and then Councillor Aniston. Councillor Threlfall.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not a lot left to say, really, is there? Short-term amenities. Well, it's only a small development, and not everybody wants an acre of lawn to cut with their ride-on lawnmower. And whoever resides in there will appreciate what they're either purchasing or renting, so I don't see the short of amenities is an issue. We heard that you couldn't photograph the bridge without that being in the foreground of the photograph. It's a mess. But what you can't also avoid, because I tried it doing my little David Bailey square, you can't avoid getting the modern roof with the modern roof lights in it if you actually want to photograph the bridge. So I don't sort of really see an issue there. 2 or 3 slides prior to that, Peter, if you could, there's the proposed elevation facing Earl's Court. If I have an issue at all, that gable end and the stonework that you see now has actually 2 stone infilled windows. And I would leave it to the discretion of yourself and the chair and the vice chair that maybe those could be reflected in that very plain exterior. I think it would just improve that and soften that from Earl's Court. And I would just like to mention the fact that as we walked back from Earl's Court, we ran into a local resident who had no axe to grind at all. She was just walking her Alsatian dog. I stopped to chat because I love Alsatian dogs. And she said, "What's all this about then?" I said, "Well, we're looking at a proposal to convert this barn." Her words, as somebody who had no axe to grind, was, "About time, thank goodness for that. That building's crumbling away. If somebody doesn't do something soon, it won't be there." Every one of them is a reason to accept this proposal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Amsden. And then
Thank you, Chair. A barn. Now, I live in a place where there's lots of barns, and this is an ideal place for doing this barn up, because the barns in the Yorkshire Dales are just falling to pieces, and this one's falling to pieces. And as a conservation area, I think it's a disgraceful conservation area, and you want something doing with it. And you talk about being small. I reckon most of you want to go down to the big metropolis of London. Most people don't have their yard, backyard or anything, and this has at least got a yard area. My son lives down in London. He's fortunate he's got a little bit of a garden, but it's nothing much, and lots of people haven't. So the amenity area is well accessed and well thought out. I think it's a good idea, and I think it'll enhance the view down to the bridge and down to the rest of Richmond from the castle. Thanks.
Councillor Anderson, do I have any other members wishing to speak, or should we just move to the vote? Oh, no, sorry, Councillor Black, you did indicate. Sorry, Councillor Black.
Madam Chairman, I just, he's a good friend of mine, but I want to take issue with Mr. Wyman, who's just over there, so look up now, please, Mark. I'm rather disappointed with your last paragraph. Here I am, 4 years of leading this council as we approach an election, on a mission to engage with the local public. I don't think anybody can take away from us the fact that we've been prepared to engage, and if engaging means going through all that we've had to go through. Why? Because clearly there is contention about this particular application, then to try and get something which is best to deal with the concerns, then I think it's worth going that extra mile. If you like, you can go to Craven area, where if anything other than they can either say yes or no, they just throw out and say, you know, we won't validate that. I'm afraid that's how this is an excellent planning authority, and two of us round here had to suffer the Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority, and they do not go to the extra mile, I can assure you, other than to chase down the most de minimis of actual issues. So no, I'm sorry, I'm glad we've gone the extra mile, and I think there is going to be a decision here tonight, I can see that. I didn't go on the site visit, and I think actually I needed to have gone, so I don't normally abstain on planning applications, but I will. But I think in abstaining, I would like to say that I do understand everybody's talking in favour of the application and without the applicant. I do think there is a case to be made for the concerns of those who are objecting to this. I can understand it in terms of the development in what is a very confined area. Whilst I think it would appear that the committee is going to approve this, I don't think you should overlook that they had concerns, and that is why I'm concerned to see that in the updated recommendation, the chair and vice chair acting in consultation with the development manager has been taken out. And I would ask you, Councillor McMullen, and you, Councillor Parlour, will actually oversee that chair and vice chair are re-put back in to act in consultation with the planning manager to ensure that people out there do know that they had concerns, they've been reflected as far as they can be in the conditions that have been put forward, and that we should be consulted to make sure that they are. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Will you take that, John?
I'll take that, yeah.
Mr Featherstone, before I go to Councillor Loveman, would like to make a comment on that point.
If I might, Chair, I mean, the reason for it being in there in the original report was because at that point we were still requiring a revised layout plan to deal with the internal arrangements, which weren't quite practical, shall we say. We now have that with the revised plan, so I think we can just consider the application of everything that's before us now and take a view without the need for any delegation either way.
I don't actually think, Madam Chairman, that will reassure what is clearly a number of objectors who are in this room tonight or have written in. I think it would be useful, if it was originally suggested, to continue. I don't suspect consultation with you as chairman, me as vice chairman, is going to add anything more in the way of any delay. The delays have already been encountered in trying to get this right.
With respect, Councillor Blackie, I think the explanation for Mr Featherstone was that there really isn't anything to consult on, because we actually have all the details that we need to make a judgment on the application one way or another. Therefore, respect, I think it might be almost like a wasted consultation with Chair and Vice Chair, because there isn't anything really left to discuss because we've got everything in front of us. So I'm not sure that that would give the reassurance or comfort to the people who have so clearly and so eloquently already objected to it. I don't think it's anything that we can offer to them, if you like. So what I would say, I understand what Councillor McMullen was saying, obviously she's the proposer of this, but I actually don't think that what you suggested there, Councillor Blackie, would either provide any comfort or any reassurance to the objectors, nor would it be actually particularly helpful in this instance. So I understand why you're saying it, but I just don't think it would be particularly helpful. So I wouldn't support that now. I think we should stay with the updated recommendation as Mr. Featherstone has explained to us, and actually just make a decision one way or another tonight on what's in front of us. That's my view. Councillor McMullen, would you be happy with that?
Do you know, I think I would.
Okay, so if I'm reading it right, therefore, you are happy to stick with the proposing the updated recommendation that we have in front of us tonight. I had Councillor Lodeman.
No, I was just going to mention that in the recommendation 9.1 it says planning and development manner acting in consultation with chair and vice chair.
Yes, but we have an updated recommendation, which is what I'm saying. There's a subtle difference between the two. That's okay. Are members clear what we're voting on? That we've had it proposed and seconded that we approve the application in line with the updated recommendation which was on our sheet. Could I have a clear show of hands, all those in favour of that proposal? Thank you very much. That's carried. Could I have a show of hands of those in against, please?
In view of your contribution, I'd have to mark my vote against, please, because I'm not satisfied on behalf of the people who engage with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner, would you like your vote against being recorded?
No, thank you.
Okay, so just Councillor. Thank you very much. That application is quite clearly approved. We now have item number 8, and we have a public. Sorry then. Item number 8.